This affects most Canadians who are borrowing money. For more, let's bring in Jimmy Jean, Vice President and Chief Economist at Desjardins. Welcome, first of all, to you, Jimmy. And I want to get your thoughts on what we've seen here in terms of this 100 basis point increase, a full percentage point in interest rates by the Bank of Canada.
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. Yeah, right. I think this is really all about moral suasion. When you think about the central bank pivot from the still cautious stances of late last year and into the decisively hawkish rhetoric and action we're now witnessing, I think what often gets lost is that it's not really about today's inflation. It's about inflation 1 to 2 years from now. So until then, this is really an optics management game, first of all, because policy generally works with long lags outside of the most rate-sensitive segments of the economy. But secondly, because monetary policy can't do it alone. It needs help from oil, from food prices, and from global logistics. I think we are seeing some early signs of relief on that front. But of course, it's too tentative and the markets are way too jittery at this juncture to be taking any of those signals for gospel here. So because of that, the bank still was in a position to be very hawkish today. But we think going forward, they will be proceeding more cautiously because of the dangers of provoking a recession.
Right, and so we were talking about front loading here. That was the term that Tiff Macklem used. Powell Bignell was mentioning it earlier. Making these aggressive moves to get inflation under control. How much do you think we're going to have to see interest rates go up in order to catch up with inflation at this point?
Right. I think it's important to bear in mind that there are long lags, long and variable lags. So it's not going to be tomorrow morning that these rate hikes, and we have to remember they began only barely 4 months ago. So it's more going to be into 2023 that those rate hikes will have their full effect on the economy. Certainly, we're seeing rate-sensitive sectors of the economy like housing. Those are coming down very rapidly. I think that's going to intensify in upcoming months. But at the same time, the Bank of Canada clearly is confronting a major challenge, and not just Bank of Canada. We saw those inflation numbers in the U.S. again this morning, widely above expectations. So central banks are really on a mission, and clearly they need to bring monetary policy above the neutral rate, which is estimated to be in a range of 2 to 3%. Right now we're at 250. So I think we're going to see a good 50, if not 75 basis points of more hikes in the upcoming meetings.
All right. And Jimmy, just finally here, let's talk about the impact on everyday Canadians. Of course, we know when interest rates go up, there's going to be an impact on people who are borrowing money, namely people who have mortgages. Talk to us a little bit more about what Canadians should be keeping in mind now as they are renegotiating those mortgages, as they're looking perhaps even to just enter the housing market.
Well, I think what the Bank of Canada wants to see is lower spending. That's pretty clear. It's making conditions more interesting for people who are saving to park money into risk-free items like bonds. So I think really what the Bank of Canada needs to see as a slowdown in consumption that will in turn cause a slowdown in consumer spending. Now, there are some sectors that are going to be affected, that are already affected by what's going on, especially in housing. So we have to brace for job losses. The Bank of Canada was pretty clear that the job market is overheated. So there will be job losses, there will be income losses. So now is really the time to be defensive, to think very carefully about everyone's spending. Rates are going up, so that means mortgages are going to be more expensive when they're up for renewal. So people have to really prepare their budgets to make sure that they're able to withstand those shocks.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time today and for your insights, Jimmy Jean, Vice President and Chief Economist at Desjardins.